No tickets left for the show tonight, but come to the kitchen door and tell the dishwasher you've got the script for Kyle, and he'll let you in. This will be the first show where it is really us and not animated versions of ourselves, so don't be shocked if Nathan's and Mr. Moore's beards don't seem so lamb's wool fluffy, and if I appear to be even more confused and disoriented than usual. Our lips will really be moving in time with our words now also, so this episode will appear much less like a French New Wave film shot on a student meal voucher budget with the girls from the village volunteering their time as club patrons, and translated from the original French by community college students studying Sartre and Camus. We present live from the stage direct to your kitchenette. I'm sure everyone knows this, but I find it so cool I'm just going to mention it. In the English weeklies, when you rent a flat, it may have all mod cons. For years I thought that was just the Jam album, but then found out it stood for all modern conveniences. Isn't that cool? So tonight's show is all mod cons. Enjoy!
That voice.
I had to read that. I can't understand all of her words.
Right. Gosh, she reads it better than I could. Here we go.
Well, she's a professional.
And where is she? That's the girl you keep locked in the basement? Who is it?
It's this online thing where they'll take text and convert it into voice, so it's always rough.
Is that the woman's voice you have on your GPS in the car?
It's yeah, basically.
All right, people. Nathan's getting ready. Nathan's running the show.
Wearing all the hats.
That's right.
And we're live. Welcome everybody to this week's Jabber John. This is episode 18. I'm your host Nathan Moore. It's my father Steve Moore, Kyle Hogg. Welcome to the show. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, well, I'll be able to see your comments on our Discord server here. And welcome to the show. Feel free to participate, ask any questions, or bring up a topic of conversation, because we don't have any idea what we're about to talk about. But it's just good to see everybody again.
Yes.
Good to make it back.
Welcome.
Yep.
You know, I was thinking earlier, might want to wait till people are watching to even start this conversation. But do you remember those riddles you used to tell when I was a kid about... Well, first I was thinking that, like, I'm not sure if I have any memories of you telling jokes. Is that true? Do you remember any jokes?
I didn't really tell a lot of jokes. No, I wouldn't. No, I've told a lot of jokes.
You have? Do
Yes.
you remember any?
But they have to be little,
Did
short
you have a
jokes.
staple?
No. I wasn't a joke teller. No.
Right. I'm not really either. Are you a joke teller?
No, I can't remember any story.
Do you have a joke that you remember?
A joke?
You too.
The funniest one I've ever heard, it's just, we went to Chapel Hill one time. It was me and my brother and my two brother-in-laws. We went to Chapel Hill to see a UNC basketball game. And we went to this bar before the game, and my brother-in-law just comes out of the bathroom. He went to the restroom, and I just busted out laughing. We're like, what's so funny? And they said there was written on the wall, a man goes into a psychiatrist's office wrapped in just saran wrap, and the receptionist says, I can clearly see your nuts.
What did he say?
I can clearly see your nuts.
There you go. We need our producer. We're a producer.
That's like the only
tonight.
joke I can remember, because I was with like three really good friends, and we just busted out laughing when he told it. It's the dumbest joke I've ever heard, but it's just...
Well, a lot of it's timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been a joke teller. I like humor, and I try to be funny all the time, but
Right.
as far as telling the story that's funny, I'm not that good at that, I guess.
Can you remember a joke?
I'm trying,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not coming up with anything. I used to have a couple that were ready for that question.
Right.
The joke you would go to.
It drives me crazy. I can't remember them.
One of the funniest things I heard, I read this yesterday. Somebody was wondering if they were trying Trump as an adult.
Wait, say it again.
Somebody posted that they wondered if they were trying Trump as an adult. Not really a joke, but it made me laugh.
I actually
Good to
watched
see you, Ben.
I actually watched a lot of that yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Wow.
I never watched
What,
that
what
kind
were
of
they
stuff.
showing?
Well, first of all, David Muir
I don't know that name.
is the answer to the question from last week that I couldn't
Oh.
remember.
Oh, the handsome
the
The
anchor.
handsome anchor. was
What's his
David
name?
Muir. I remember once I got home. But David Muir was on all afternoon
Oh,
yesterday
yeah.
with the Trump thing.
Just holding it down.
Yeah, he was there. And of course, nothing happened. So nothing would happen. So I got into studying the guards and the people that were there because they kept showing the same shot of the door, waiting for him to walk through.
Right.
And so I got to know some of the guards there at the Capitol.
The main piece I read was how all the major news networks are all scrambling to find something to show us.
That's
Because
right.
they were all doing live
Yeah.
coverage, but nothing was happening for
There were-
hours.
yeah.
So they're all scrambling, looking for anything that might be interesting to look at on any level.
Yeah, there wasn't anything going on at all.
But for people watching, I'm sure it was all a little fascinating.
Well, they wouldn't go back and talk about different things. They're very good at killing time.
Right.
They're professionals.
They're professionals.
There's no doubt.
Hey,
about it.
Magpie. Good to see you. Jeffrey, welcome to the show. Saul Herrera, wonderful to see you.
Hey, Saul.
But then I was thinking about those riddles you used to give us, where you would give a quick scenario and then say what happened, and we could ask yes or no questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
those were very popular for a
Th-
while.
Do you
those are
remember
great.
one?
Yeah, I wouldn't make those up. They were just travel around. But, I mean, some of them would take a long time to try to figure out.
Wait a minute, so he would tell you like a little story. You could just answer questions. He could only answer yes or no.
Yeah, you're like the detective trying
Okay.
to solve. So I got one.
Okay.
It's a pretty easy one, I think. But I looked it up after thinking about that.
So is this one
Walk
you
in
remember from
Percy.
him or just
No,
Okay.
I wanted to find a new one that because I bet I remember all yours.
Okay.
Or if you remember one, I could just read the yes or no questions from the chat.
Well, I don't.
Do you remember one of those?
I mean, I need prompting. Nothing pops up anymore. You have to.
All right,
sow
I'm excited.
seeds
Let's
and
go.
water it.
Okay. There's 4 men in a room with 53 bicycles. One of the men is dead. What happened? 4 men in a room with 53.
See, I know that.
You know that.
You know it.
Yeah.
All right, if you know the
Which
answer,
means
you have to
I've
set it
probably
out.
heard it somewhere along the line.
Right.
But there was one word you said and gave the whole thing away.
Oh, really? Did I say it wrong?
No. I just have heard it before, obviously.
4 men in a room with 53 bicycles. One is dead. What happened?
One of the men is dead.
Mm-hmm. Good to see you, J-Dodd.
4 men.
Ducey, hello, hello.
I could tell you.
Billy, welcome. And you guys are playing too. Yes or no questions. You're the detective. If you know the answer, please set it out.
Is it something is it logical or is it some weird thing?
It's always logical.
Oh, there's 4
And
men.
it's always some kind of weird thing.
No, the question is why is the man dead? Is the question why is the man
What
dead?
happened?
But is the question is why is the man dead?
Well, sure. I mean, that would be... If that's not the question, if you figured that out, you'd definitely be
All right, 4 men
close
in a
to
room.
what happened.
53 bicycles. One of the men is dead. They each had.
J-Dot, I'm trying to figure out your comment there. Moose turd pie. I don't know if that's just cryptic or...
Who said that?
J-Dot, he just comes right screaming in the door like Kramer from Seinfeld with moose turd pie. Welcome to the show.
4 men in a room.
Silas,
53
good to see you. The chat is on the porch on Discord. Yep. Good question. So you just start asking questions. Yes or no questions.
Do these guys own all
I
the
should
bikes?
pick one that you don't know, though.
These guys own all the bikes?
Yes.
Does the dead guy have anything, a certain tie to any of the bikes?
Say again?
Does the dead guy have any particular tie to any other bikes?
Mm-hmm.
I know, he's just sitting over there like the Buddha with the answer smiling. He can't say anything. Yes, Grasshopper, trying to figure out the answer.
Jeffrey asks if he got killed. Yes, he got killed.
By one of the three guys?
Yes.
They wanted his bike?
No. You can ask questions to hurry it along if you want. We don't have to go deep on this necessarily.
Can you just feign ignorance for a second?
Did one of the bicycles or more kill him?
No.
He wasn't killed in a bike wreck?
Nope.
He did the bikes
He
fall?
wasn't hit over the head with one either.
Nope.
4 men in a room, one is dead, and there's 53 bikes in there. Is it a...
Bicycles.
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 So
the right answer just popped up in the chat.
Oh.
But I don't know if he's genuinely figured it out or if he knew already.
Who is it?
But either way, it just appeared on the screen of the show. Hopefully, if the technology is working correctly. Jeffrey Placco says the bicycles are a brand of cards. He had 53, not 52. He got caught cheating, so his opponents killed him. Gosh. Ding, ding, ding. Right answer. Yay, Jeffrey, you win.
Yeah, way to go, guy. You win $2,000. Congratulations.
We'll send that check right out. It's in the mail.
Send your physical address.
And that will be Monopoly money.
Right, absolutely.
We have one, got one at the yard sale.
Jawn bucks.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Wait a minute, so
we could get
so
it.
he had like a marked deck or something, and that's why they killed him?
Well, you know, there's 52 cards on a deck, 52
Right.
cards on a deck, and bicycle is the most famous
Right.
brand. So because there was 53 bicycles, the guy probably had an ace up his sleeve.
God, who's supposed to figure that out?
Well, you're supposed to ask questions and deduce it. You're not supposed to just guess it right off the bat.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole nature of it.
I demand instant satisfaction.
Yeah. A lot of people do these days.
I remember one of the first ones you told me was there's a guy hanging dead, hung from the ceiling of a room with no furniture. There's no windows, and there's a puddle of water underneath him. What happened?
I remember that.
You remember that one?
Well, this one sort of. I've heard stories like this.
You know this one. It's probably one of the most classic of that. He hung himself by standing on a block of ice. Try this with your kids at home.
Death stories with the kids. They love
I
it.
used to do it in the classroom.
It's a fun
a
exercise.
killer.
Great campfire, great party.
Good thinking stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do, Beans was reminded, we used to do Crack the Case back in the pandemic days on the Hippie Fiasco show with Willie T. Taylor, special guest, and he had a kids game that was a whole deck of cards with these questions. On the front was the question, on the back was the answer, and it was called Crack the Case from his youth. I'd never heard of that, but it was like a classic Milton Bradley version of this idea.
I meant to bring. I was going through. I had one room just books, like thousands of books stacked up, and I came and there's no shelves left for them anymore. But I found this pack of music cards. It's questions about music, like what was the first song that.
I like flashcards.
It was like what was the first song that you ever associated with someone you fell in love with? What was the first song you associated with high school? I meant to
those
bring
are
it.
like personal.
Yeah,
So it was just like conversation
yeah,
starters.
and I meant to bring it. I set it aside. I forgot to bring it tonight.
That's cool.
I'll have to bring that in with the block of ice.
That'd be a good show, right? The show starter right there.
Did you see the guy? I saw this on the internet. Some dude in Mexico had a huge block of ice, and he just pushed it through the city until it totally melted. It took like hours. Him just like pushing it at the end. He's like just pushing it with his foot, and then it just comes down to like a little drip of water. But he pushed this thing for like hours. Like it was like as big as his chair, this huge block of ice. Like I guess like
why was he doing
like
it?
An art,
Just as
like
an art piece.
Yeah.
Gosh, have you seen the footage of that robot that is bringing? I won't be able to describe it. Have you seen the footage of the robot and the oil's leaking out of it? And it's trying to get, all right.
Is sucking it back in?
I thought I'd be able to describe it right when I started talking. I'm going to hold off on that and find the link and share it next time or something, because it's really beautiful piece of art. Okay, one more quickie before we move on. Two men are in a restaurant. They both order a drink. They both get the drink. And both drinks are identical. The first guy drinks his really fast, and nothing happens. The second guy takes his time and dies. What happened?
I don't think I've heard that one.
All right, I mean, two guys, same drinks. So just two different guys, two same drinks. One drinks it fast, one drinks it slow. The slower guy dies.
Mm-hmm.
Was there poison
Did the drink
in the ice?
kill him?
Yes.
Was it poison in the ice?
Bam. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. There was poison in the ice.
Poison in the
It was
ice.
probably too close to your ice story.
It was. And I once wrote a novel entitled that.
Entitled what?
There's poison in the ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't believe that's so weird. How does that
What
happen?
are the odds?
Yeah, I mean, just think about
If
that.
you think about it. So,
And it
welcome.
was, unbelievably, it didn't sell. But it had a good opening paragraph and went
That sounds,
downhill.
that sounds like an Agatha Christie book. There's poison in the ice.
There's poison in the ice. It sounds like the last line of an Agatha Christie novel.
I don't think with the latency and stuff we can do this, but just to acknowledge, I see you, Silas. He says, you're in a room with no windows, no doors. All that's in the room is a mirror and a table. How do you get out? This might just be a straight up riddle as
Wait a
opposed
minute.
to a yes
You're in
or
a
no
room with no
question.
windows, no doors. All it has is a mirror and a table.
A mirror and a table. How do you get out? You're in a room with no windows, no doors. All that's in the room is a mirror and a table. How do you get out?
Is there a ceiling?
This might not be one of these yes or no riddles, so we might be able to figure
Is there a ceiling? Can you get down on the table and crawl out?
See, this is where I'm nervous about engaging in this idea because now we have to wait 30 seconds to 2 minutes for him to respond.
Pay attention! Don't go to the
Yeah,
bathroom.
don't go to the bathroom right now. We need you, Silas.
That popcorn can wait. Come on.
Is there a ceiling? Are we supposed to ask yes or no questions? He says, oh, here's the answer. I'll read it to myself real quick. This is great. Okay, here's the answer. You ready? Look in the mirror and see what you saw. Take the saw and cut the table in half. 2 halves make a hole. Put the hole on the wall and jump out. Come on.
Come on.
I can't believe people can't figure that. I don't know what's happening to people. Can't figure a
That's
simple
like
little thing
second
like
grade, isn't it?
that. Yeah, I mean,
That's a pretty good one, though. Who was that sent that in?
Silas.
Silas, you will get $2,000 too for
Ding, ding,
besting us.
ding. We have another winner. 2,000 Jabberjawn bucks is on its way to you right now. In fact, it should be in your pocket if you check.
If you look at the whole amount you got, you saw that you had nothing.
Just
and you
look in the mirror, see what you saw. Take the saw. Cut the table
Cut that
in half.
$2,000 in
2 halves,
half.
make a hole. Put the hole in the floor. Reach in and grab your 2,000 Jabberjawn bucks.
And thank you very much.
Very good.
Go
So you
right.
brought props, Dad. What you got there?
Well, I had talked about maybe doing a program. See, we sit around and figure out why we're doing this and what are we doing, and thousands of things come up. Just the sex appeal thing right off the bat, we haven't really talked about.
But we can't just ride on those laurels.
Oh
the whole
no, not
way.
at all.
Yeah.
But
You got to do
that's
something
just
of
a
substance
subtle
as well.
thing. I'm just using that as a crude example. Well, I mean, it was just pretty obvious.
Right.
That's the first thing people think about. But I was thinking that could do a segment each week that I felt like it, or that y'all would put up with, that I would do a different bird.
No,
That's
love
a
it.
wonderful
I love
idea.
it.
Different bird.
And its idea was East Coast birds, because that's where I am, and birds that you might see at your bird feeder, and maybe a little bit more about them than you already know. And so I could do a bird each week, and then what you would do would be to take that section out and make a bird series and sell it for thousands of $2,000 probably.
Right, or just
you
have
could probably get $2,000 for it. That's what I was thinking.
This is a great idea.
So I could do a bird tonight,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
and we could do that anytime you want. I'll be making most of this stuff up as we go along. So
No fact checking, please.
it's just stuff that'll pop in my head that I want to say about that bird, or about some human being that I'm comparing to that bird.
We had house guests this week for a few days.
How did that go?
3 wonderful musicians. It was great. Tony, Becca,
That's
and
very
Ryan
nice of
Montbleu.
you. That's nice of you to do that.
Well, I owe the universe a great deal of hosting. I've been, in my traveling and touring days, the universe took very good care of me. It's time to return the favor.
That's nice.
And I enjoy it. I like vicariously they bring the road right through the house, and so I don't have to go anywhere to be on the road for a second.
I love it. I love it.
But one of my rules was no Googling any of the stuff I say. Every time I would say something, I was like, don't Google that. I'm just riffing here. I don't want to be fact checked on my BS. Let's just make a Google-free zone. Feel free to make up anything you want.
Well, and I've tried to explain this to people. Listening to you talk, one of the wonderful things of listening to you talk, you don't even want to know if it's true or not. You tell such a good story that you just want to believe it. Even if it's half bullshit and half truth, you tell it in such a good way. It's like, Mr. Moore said so. It's the truth. You just want to believe the way you tell stuff. You just want to believe it.
Well, you should believe it.
So
I've always made stuff up. I've never not made stuff up. I'm consistent.
So people, if you don't actually see these birds, don't be concerned. It might be just that he's led you astray a little
Tonight's
bit.
bird is the snipe. Not only will we teach you a lot of facts about this bird, but we'll also tell you how to catch one. Have we talked about that?
I've never been on one of those, but I've heard the horror
Have we talked
stories.
about that on the show? I feel like
We mentioned them.
We
one
might
time.
have.
Didn't really go
it's a
into it.
tradition here in the East. I don't know what regions it's not a tradition in, but I know around here it's hard to get through childhood without being tricked into snipe hunting. And the elders will usually make up the rules on how. I forget how y'all told us to do it, but it involved flashlights in a paper bag. I remember that. And me and my 2 cousins are out, and all the adults in the house are getting us ready for the snipe hunt, and we were completely convinced we were going out to catch a snipe. And then we come in an hour or 2 later with all the adults just already laughing at us as we walk back in empty-handed from our snipe hunt. Some kind of mating call, some kind of flashlight action in a paper bag. So
Yeah, I've heard so many
you gotta
people.
take it with a grain of
I've
salt.
heard so many people that went scouting, like Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts, and they were like, "Man, we believed all that stuff." They were. You'd be like going out looking for it. You'd come back, and it'd be like a couple of older dudes sitting around the campfire drinking whiskey. You know, did you find one? No.
I shouldn't even be saying this publicly, just in case the nieces and nephews are watching. I'm ruining it.
They'll forget.
I'm robbing my own joy.
I think I first saw it on Spin and Marty.
Spin and Marty.
I think that's, somebody will have to fact check me, but there was all these afternoon shows that Disney would put out, and one of them was two young boys, but I think they were out in the West.
I've never even heard of that. Spin
and Marty. They were like on a ranch. In one of their episodes, they were snipe hunting, and they were holding a big old potato sack in the swamp like that for an hour.
So has anyone actually ever caught a snipe?
Well, you know, then you look it up in a dictionary, and snipes do exist. So,
So is it sort of like a Bigfoot? You can get a picture of a snipe?
Right.
Yeah. Why? I think one of the things the snipes do is they're breeding. They have a dance and they get out and drum on a log and do different things.
Oh my gosh, what's all this?
It's a snipe.
Well, that's a real bird.
It's a real, yeah, they grown-ups aren't stupid. They have some plausible deniability or whatever it is. A snipe is any of about 26 wading bird species. They are characterized by a very long, slender bill, eyes placed high on the head, and cryptic camouflaging plumage. So, yeah, here we are on top of Hillcrest in Stanton, Virginia, going after these marsh birds.
But I don't remember. Did they tell you it was a bird?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And it ran around, and it was running. They run in the dark. Mm-hmm. And if you hold a bag up, they'll run into it.
That's right.
Which made perfect sense.
Made perfect sense. It's just their instinct. If you just...
It's a place for them to hide.
And that's the
so, like, my two cousins, like, you know, one of us was holding the bag, and the other two were trying to scare the snipes into the bag. So we're just, like, running around the backyard going, snipe, snipe, snipe.
And that's the way you got interested in magic?
I don't know.
When somebody grabbed the bag, somebody grabbed the bag and acted like it was in there and you believed it. It's really in there!
Oh, where'd it go? It disappeared.
So what's the bird you're going to tell us about tonight?
I was going to tell you about the flicker.
The flicker.
The flicker.
And it's interesting because I started off with the idea of doing birds that might come to your bird feeder. And of course, we're getting out of bird feeder time now with the spring anyway.
Starting to pop off out there.
Yeah, so, but I am going to do a lot of bird feeder birds, just so you know them when you see them. And they do come all year. But the flicker is a type of woodpecker. Mm. And I read that they're not as common as they used to be, but most things aren't. Mm-hmm. A lot of things aren't. Mm-hmm. So, but you'll still see them. A good place to see them is Gypsy Hill Park.
Oh, wow.
Because, but the first thing you say is, if you see a flicker, and I say they're a woodpecker, you expect to see them climb up a tree. Mm-hmm. And that will happen. But most of the time, you'll see a flicker on the ground.
Huh.
And
pecking at the ground.
They're pecking at the ground.
No, what's the size of it?
They're a big bird, about the size of a pigeon or a...
Oh, wow.
I mean, not as bulky. They're long and thin, but I got a big, nice body on them.
Right.
I'm going to show a picture here in a minute. They're, they're bigger than a blue jay. They're a pretty big bird.
Maybe one of the biggest woodpeckers.
Well, the pileated is the one that looks like the ivory bill with the big white and red head,
right.
And black and white. The big one that laughs when he flies, that's the pileated. But this is a size lower than that. And they don't look like woodpeckers up close because they're brown. They have a little thing of red here. And they're speckled in the front with light color and then dark gray speckles. And then when they fly, underneath, when I grew up in Hillcrest, I was always looking for feathers. The two most common feathers you would find, besides a crow, would be a blue jay, and you could see the blue on them, and then the flicker. And the flicker's feathers they're yellow underneath.
Oh, wow.
And you'll find them if you walk into the park and you see a feather with yellow on it.
Right.
It's probably a flicker. So the underside of the feather is yellow. So when they fly, you see a flicker of yellow.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the name comes from. You can see a flicker, and then also under their rump, they have a white patch. So evidently when they fly, that attracts the predator or whatever, distracts them, and they can get away quicker. But that's or they think they look cool with a white butt. But and then the other thing is when a woodpecker, I was telling Kyle that when woodpeckers fly, because of their tails being straight down so they can climb up trees, they always fly like that.
Oh.
All the woodpeckers fly like that.
Well, I didn't know that.
So if you see that, it might not be a flicker, but it'll be another one. So the flickers, you'll see them. I used to see them all the time on the VSDB campus. Now, here's your question. They're on the ground. What are they doing?
They're digging for bugs.
Yep, specifically, they love ants.
Oh, wow.
They just love ants. So they'll get into an ant's nest, and they'll just sit there all day and just one at a time pick an ant and eat it. Let me show everybody a picture. This is the one I got for Christmas. Can you show that to them? They're a pretty bird, but you wouldn't really.
Yeah.
So its outer feathers are sort of brownish, but its under feathers have more color.
Exactly.
Flicker.
No, is that for a reason? Do you know, or is that just?
Well, they're
The way
they're
God
brown
made
on the
them.
top for camouflage, so you won't see them,
Right.
and they're yellow on the
Can you
bottom
show me that on the way
to
over?
warn
Isn't that cool?
to warn you.
Is that a painting or a picture?
That's the same thing I asked him. Me and Nathan are our brains are working the same tonight,
And I'm sorry to hear that.
which means it's like on a slow draw.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that a great book?
Wow.
I want to
All
talk
different kinds of them. Well, I guess that's the same.
It's the
Some
same.
are red, some are
Well,
yellow.
out west they're red. They're the red shafted flicker, and ours are called yellow shafted flickers.
Now, are flickers over the United States, or are they mostly East Coast, or
Well, that's what I was just saying. Out west they have them,
different colors?
but they have a red color because of what they eat.
Oh, wow.
That's what the
carotene.
that's what the
Yeah, I
term is?
read that today. The carotenoids are different in the way they're
So they're eating
digested.
carrots and turns them red.
Well, anything that has it's the same orange pigment that a carrot has. Carrot,
That affects the color of their.
right?
feathers?
That's what it affects. So that's why the ones on the East Coast are yellow.
Oh my gosh! Really?
Yeah,
What turns the East Coast ones yellow?
the same thing. The carotenoids. It's just something about the way they dissolve or digest it. Just the chemistry of their
Oh
body.
my gosh!
But
Tell them about the bird you were telling me about that only
It's so
lives.
funny that they've drawn this to have little ants on its nose. I was
Yeah,
like, is that a blemish? But now I see all these ants down here.
yeah, that book. Hold that book up. The outside.
What It's Like to Be a Bird by David Allen Sibley.
Yes. Now, if anybody's a bird watcher, they know Sibley because of his bird books. But this is a follow-up. This is not about identifying birds. It's about the behavior of birds,
Oh wow!
Being
which is wonderful. It's just stuff in there that I love to read. This is my favorite
know,
book.
I-
My
I-
sister Vicky gave it to me, and I think that's just a wonderful
it is a
gift.
beautiful book.
If you have somebody who likes birds, give them that book.
Tell them about the bird you told me that only lives in the Grand Canyon.
That was a squirrel.
Oh, God, that's right. My brain is off filter. Well, sorry. All right, so we're done with birds. We're going to squirrels now.
Well, before we move from woodpeckers, what an astounding bird. I mean, if you hear a woodpecker, you can hear a woodpecker from really far away because, I mean, if there's a woodpecker out there, you just hear this like really loud. Like their head is going so fast, slamming into that tree.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Now, is a woodpecker doing that for food or to make a nest?
Well, both.
Oh, really?
They start out looking for food, and then
So they're just pounding into a tree, hoping there's something in
To
there.
like
well,
reveal the beetles underneath the bark, right?
first of all, it's got to be a dead tree,
Okay.
and so it's already got to be loose. And then sometimes they'll just get underneath the bark, and there's all kinds of insects underneath there,
Right.
or ants or termites or whatever. I mean, I'm sure they love termites too. So anything, the dead tree is a home for all kinds of things, and they eat them. But in the process, they will build they hit that thing enough, they can dig a hole in there.
Wow.
And then
Do they do that? Is
Yeah.
that how they nest?
That's how most holes in trees are. They come from different woodpeckers, and the flicker makes a hole.
And it's where they classically build their nest?
Oh yeah.
They
They'll build their nests and then they'll leave, or they'll break down. The neighborhood will go to pot and they'll move somewhere else, and the squirrels will take over. That flying squirrel you saw was in an old flicker house. Now it didn't have to be a flicker; it could have been another type of woodpecker. But the woodpeckers build them. Squirrels can't build a hole. A lot of people think squirrels build a hole in the tree and live in it. No, they just find a rundown old woodpecker hole.
It seems like they have to have extremely strong beaks.
That's what I was thinking. If you gave me or Nathan a hammer and a nail and said, hammer a hole in this tree, how long would it be? How long would be out there to make a hole? And this woodpecker, with a little, just from his neck power, it's amazing.
There's a picture in this book, and I can't find it, but it shows. I mentioned it one time on here about episode 3 or whatever. But
go back and watch from episode 1.
Yeah,
Love it.
how the woodpecker does that, and he's got this unbelievably insulated space in between the skull and the brain, and
Scott
so
has to.
it's an absorber.
But how much power can they have?
They have a lot of power.
And it's quick too.
Yeah,
It's such a sound.
It's amazing how much they can generate there.
It really is.
And the other thing that the picture shows is that tongue wraps all the way around the top of their brain. And
Oh,
then
you
comes
told us
out.
about that.
Oh wow!
So they shoot that tongue out. It can go down into the hole and grab the ants.
How about that? I'm going to try to find that picture.
It's at the beginning.
You
I
got
think.
me now.
Yeah.
See if there's an index here. If not, I'll give up.
Now, where do birds tie in with like dinosaurs and stuff? Were there birds that are still alive?
Birds evolved from the reptiles,
Okay.
and then they went off on their own branch and got warm-blooded and got feathers. But feathers are modified scales.
Right.
Oh, how about that? Sure.
Yeah, they're reptiles, and you can see it in their eyes.
Oh, they're reptiles?
They're evolved from
Reptiles.
reptiles.
Oh, wow.
They're a new category.
Hey, Aaron. Welcome to the show. But those are all evolved from fish, right?
Who?
Reptiles to birds.
No.
Because it all started in the ocean, right?
Well, no. Yeah, but there were reptiles in the ocean.
I never
How was that?
I never thought about that. So when there was dinosaurs, there was also like weird fish that are no more, like in the ocean.
Well, some of the dinosaurs evolved into being different kinds of fish.
Go on.
I mean, think about dolphins. They're evolved from a mammal. they've evolved from a different.
They went from land to sea?
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Don't Google this. I'm starting.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Like I said, the stories, if it's true or not, it's you don't believe it.
No.
It's just the magic of Mr.
I
Moore
want to hear
telling you
more
a
about
story.
this. Though. How is it?
Whales used to be on land. Now, not the whales, but the ancestors of
Right.
the whales, because if you're dealing with lungs and things like that, you're not. Gills are much better for living in
They
water.
don't have gills.
We don't have gills.
God, that is so.
Although
All right,
actually,
so it doesn't have gills. It has to breathe air, but its mouth needs to be underwater. So it evolved a blowhole that it could poke out of the top of the water. But I just feel like so much of evolution is just like millions of years of like really unfathomable
Weirdness.
horror. Like until that hole evolved, that spout hole on the top. I mean, it's just. I mean, like until the giraffe finally got its neck up to reach that leaf, there's these millions of years of untold stories, and the theory of evolution.
well,
that
there
is
is.
just
There's
too shocking to.
There are dead ends on every page.
Now, I consider myself halfway intelligent. I should know this. When did dinosaurs go away? Like, is there an estimated time?
Oh yeah, it was like 90 million, I think. I don't do numbers very well.
So it was a long time.
Did we
ago.
overlap with them?
Well, I mean, a lot of biologists would just say the dinosaurs didn't die.
They
You
just
just saw an iguana. Iguana's a little dinosaur. There's no difference. So,
Right. Just
they
just
just
the
have-
size change.
yeah, the size has changed.
Although a little Tyrannosaurus Rex would be pretty amazing to see.
They would be. And I imagine,
A praying mantis.
So I don't know why like to me it makes sense that everything started in the ocean and things would emerge onto land slowly, but there's something very confusing to me about going from land back into the water. Can you help me understand that, or?
well, let's just take a Native American, and you work your way down the Bering Strait, and you got this tribe, and you're doing pretty good. You get out there into the desert in the Southwest, and there's nothing to eat. And you try somewhere else and you get hit by a natural disaster, and half the tribe die. So you end up going back and living along the ocean because you can go out and catch a fish every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you evolved. You tried other things that worked for a while, but then you went back to something you could count on, and now you depend on fish for your. But that wasn't true always.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could just take that little story and apply it to the evolution.
That makes a lot of sense.
For a whale, well, think about that rising ocean. You're on an island, and the more time you spend in the water, the better off you are. Eventually, you start getting adaptations that help you, and you start going back. So none of these mammals that live in the water now are, porpoise. They're fully equipped to be a mammal.
Right.
I mean, it's got to be an inconvenience to try to raise a little baby in an ocean.
Right.
You just drop him one time and he's gone. But that's
Right.
It's so weird for I'm 58 years old. You think that's a long time? You just think, but then it's just so weird to consider these animals have evolved over 3,000. It's like the human brain really can't. You can't.
3 million.
Yeah, you can't even really
No,
understand.
there's no way.
Yeah.
The other thing about that you could bring up too, is, in terms of time, is how quickly things can leave.
Oh yeah.
They can leave forever really quickly. We're in an age of extinction now.
Right.
It's unparalleled, except for when the
Dinosaurs.
meteorite hit to kill the
Do
body.
you think that's what happened to the dinosaurs?
That's one of the things that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much it had, but I'd say
Did
that was
people and dinosaurs coexist?
no. Well, except for
So there's God, it's
Except for
so
that
it's so
chameleon.
fun to just try to fathom
It's
any of it.
crazy.
Like there was this whole planet with just dinosaurs and all kinds of crazy animals for millions of years. Then they all got wiped out, and then like more new animals and human beings. Just
No,
like,
this is. I mean, you won't. Neither one of you will.
wait, quick question: would human beings have evolved if the dinosaurs hadn't been eradicated by a meteor?
you'd have to ask God.
That's the same thing I was going to ask. Do you think when there was just dinosaurs that there was any power structure, or they was just a live as you live as you are? Do you think there
It
was
was
like?
definitely predator and prey.
But do you think they had any? You think they had any? Like humans have sort of a plan to move. Like you think it was just day by day, or do you think they had like a? All right, in 6 weeks we have to make sure all of us get together and move on and do something.
There's no planned thing.
It was just they were just out there doing their thing.
Yeah, just trying to find something to eat.
I imagine they instinctively and through witnessing past, because animals will like gather food for the winter, right? Some animals will.
Sure.
Those damn Stanton Park squirrels do.
Right, they gather up.
Yes. Something's going to have to be done about those squirrels. at
I
the
tell you
park.
what, I almost didn't make it out of the park the other day just trying to
Yeah.
visit you on my bike. I'm not biking over to your house anymore. It
Yeah.
has just gotten out of hand over there.
Got the chain?
I
Got the bike
I
chain?
mean, I'm afraid I don't know what's going to happen if they had caught me. I'm not sure we'd be doing this
No.
tonight. Luckily, I was on an electric bike and just hit the overdrive and got it out, barely made it out of there. But I must have had 20, if not 30 squirrels
Oh my
chasing me at
gosh.
one point through that park. They,
Yeah, it's hard to pedal and hold your nuts. You know?
it's true.
That's what I've found. I got him.
That's what I have found.
I got him.
This is the goal of Jabber John, is to try to make Kyle fall up from his chair with laughter.
He was telling me today about some squirrels in Ohio. They kill all the non-white ones, so they breed them just to be white squirrels.
When I was growing up, there was a city in Ohio that had all white squirrels. They weren't albinos; they were just white, color phase.
I've never seen a white squirrel.
Yeah. Well, I had one mounted for a while.
What?
I had there was two fox squirrels mounted. Whole time I was growing up. My dad let me. Fox squirrel's a bigger species of squirrel than we have around in the city. They're country squirrels. But one of them was he was in a white phase, or he was very old. I don't know.
Wow.
But he wasn't completely white, but he had a definite white phase.
You had it mounted?
I had it mounted.
Did you
I
kill
paid-
it?
I shot it with my .22.
Wow.
It
As
was
a child?
It was my proudest day. I was 4.
I killed Grandma and my cousin and a white squirrel.
It was a good day. I got the gun for Christmas. What do you expect? No, I was 14 probably.
14.
But
Mounting was the whole thing.
Well, Dad, we had a wild turkey.
Yeah, I remember
for
that
years and
turkey
years.
really well.
Like y'all didn't mount them yourself, did you? Take
Oh,
them
no.
Okay, yeah.
We paid somebody to mount
Taxidermist.
a taxidermist.
That was a way. I mean, I know it still happens, but it was commonplace when you were growing up.
Oh yeah.
Like that was just.
Well, deer heads were everywhere.
Deer heads were everywhere.
And then all of a sudden, people said they were gross. Deer heads were
It's
gross.
weird how that happens, right?
I don't know.
Next
They
thing you know, deer heads aren't cool.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you can't find an antelope anywhere.
Squanjo's in the house. Good to see you, brother.
All right.
He says,
Squanjo.
what are your thoughts on the intentional theory of evolution that states organisms have experiences in their lives that affects their evolution, creating spontaneous evolution in history terms. I'm not sure I followed that.
That's what I was thinking. So you don't think dinosaurs had any plan? Dinosaurs just like you and me and Nathan had a plan to get together tonight. We're gonna do this. Do you think dinosaurs with other dinosaurs had any plan at all, or it was just get away from me? I'm eating this.
I think
I'm not following this. Can you say a little bit more about that, Squanjo? Intentional theory of evolution. Do you have any insight on
I
that?
didn't understand what you read there either. But back to what you're saying now. What were you saying?
Like how? I think he's sort of implying is there like they wanted to go in a certain like you and us three might want to move forward. Did the dinosaurs have any? I might be totally wrong, but did they have an intentional purpose to do anything?
I think
Like returning to the ocean for resources
Yeah.
would be sort of.
I don't think it was like a vote or that they. I think what goes on is that every species does that. In other words, there's a drive to keep the species alive
Right.
and for it to be successful. And I think that's inherent in different individuals, which is a little bit different than just the individuals
Right.
doing it. But after that, I don't think there's any plan.
Right. He was telling me before we started that different birds, they just make different types of nests. Like nobody's teaching them that. It's just this is the way. It's like in their like what did you say in their DNA? It's just this
Yeah,
is the way
it's inbred in them.
How's that understood scientifically? Is it?
I don't think it's understood completely, but I mean, it's just like anything else, like eye color or anything else. A set of behaviors are set in motion by the shape of the genes. But you're talking a difference. You're talking about chemistry producing thoughts. And that's a hard thing to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it just is the end result. The things happen as a result of certain behaviors. And it may look like you're doing it on purpose, but it's just what you're doing to survive in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think humans have any inbred things that we all do just for no reason other than our
I think we have
bodies
more than
telling us?
most. Because of our brains, we can think, we can create things.
But is that something our parents teach us and our friends and family teach us, or is that something that's just if we were just born and lived, unattended, would we have?
Well, that's a nature-nurture argument. I mean, you're asking me, is it nature or nurture?
Right.
And I'm saying sometimes it's one,
One or the other,
sometimes it's the other, and most of the time it's a little bit of both.
We are born with built-in innate abilities to do things like language. We're not born with the language, but we're born with the ability to understand, to be taught it, which is the whole thing.
Do you think kindness and caring is something we're born with, or is that taught to us? Or is that a natural thing that you have to care for?
I don't know. The first thing when you said that was my reaction was what I saw on the Nova show the other day about wolves and dogs and how that there were these two little lines. They showed this chromosome pattern and they showed these two little squiggles. And if you took that out, you have a dog. And if you put it back in, you have a wolf.
Oh, wow.
And if you have a dog, he loves you. If you have a wolf, he eats you.
Right.
And there's those two little squiggles.
Wow.
And so I think that's with human
That's
beings too.
fascinating.
If you're some type of tribe of Huns that believes that that you should kill anybody gets in your way, then you're going to do that, and you're going to reward the individuals
Right.
that think that way, so it gets passed on. So that's how that's.
You think mothers would be born with, or would have some innate caring that's sort of built in to
Right.
care for the infant? I feel like that would be part of our programming default package. So Squanjo says, like a stick bug, its ancestor wanted to hide from a bird, and that caused it to evolve into looking like a stick more quickly than random natural selection. There are studies that show our DNA is affected by our life experiences. Generational learning, traumas get passed down as well.
Wow. I believe that can happen on some level. But there's just, like you said earlier, there's really it's really hard to understand how the chemistry and the behavior and the actual
The transition.
thinking,
Right.
how it goes from one thing to the other is really hard to fathom.
I mean, if you think of just like the millions of years for this mammal to develop a blowhole on its back, because it's a mammal and wants to live in the ocean and it has to breathe. So this blowhole has to evolve onto its back so it can stick it out of the water.
Now, see, that
Like,
could
how-
happen very quickly
How?
with a mutation. It's all done by mutations, and the mutation,
But how many of them drown before it happens?
all of them.
All right. Yeah, we're only left with the ancestors of that.
And then one of them
which
says,
did
"I
not-
got it, motherfuckers! I got it! Come follow me!"
Only a few of them made it through. But yeah, it can happen very quickly. That's another thing we've learned is that things can go extinct very quickly, but things can change very quickly too.
was when we intervene in plants or animals to create mutations, we can do it very quickly.
Yep.
Create new seedless watermelons and
You think about
poodles.
all the different dogs we got. That's been done within the
to
last
think
couple hundred
like
years.
a Chihuahua and a poodle share the same ancestor, but
Yeah,
we
but
just
it's
got in there and
still- it's
manipulated.
just- I don't know if I mean, at least my brain, I can't take in slow moving, from a dinosaur to a whale. I have I understand what you're saying, but I just have a hard time
It's
fathoming,
very, it is very hard to fathom.
Yeah, it's hard to fathom how that could work.
Now, do birds have? Do you think birds came from like one bird to go out to thousands of birds, or is that there's always been multiple birds?
I think there are all kinds of lizards and things evolving in different places, and so you get different kinds of birds.
So birds come from lizards.
Well, they come from reptiles, which
Wow.
could be lizards. Yeah. But obviously a condor comes from some big bird that doesn't look anything like a sparrow. So, yeah, just like when the dinosaurs died with the thing, what survived were not the big mammals. The mastodons didn't make it. It's the littlest mammals, the squirrels and the mice and the rabbits that survived. So being smaller helped you because you could hide under a rock.
Right.
God, isn't that crazy? They're really dinosaurs. Like it doesn't freak me out. It doesn't freak me out, but it freaks my brain out that that dinosaurs were around at some time.
Yeah, it helped me to realize that the dinosaurs are really still here. To think about reptiles. I mean, you see a Komodo dragon. All you got to do is add a couple Hollywood effects, and you've got a dinosaur.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. So that makes sense. If there weren't any things like that around, then it would really be a mystery.
Now, where do
It
you
really
think?
seems like. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But it really seems like it's possible that if a meteor or asteroid or whatever hadn't taken out the dinosaurs, humanity maybe never would have happened.
It might have taken a completely different turn,
Completely
and
different.
it might have evolved into a completely, who knows? And that's true with everything.
So
right?
did our ancestors coexist with the dinosaurs?
Well, some ancestor did, but it was more like an early monkey.
Was Adam and Eve?
No, Adam and Eve came much later.
Okay. It wasn't Adam and Steve. Remember that?
They didn't name themselves back then.
I hope it was.
I'm
Adam.
one of millions.
I hope it was Adam and Steve. That'd be even better.
Adam and Steve.
Welcome to the show, Clutch. Good to see you. He says, like the feeling of being grossed out at the sight of maggots. That's a evolutionary advantage.
Wow. Yeah, like maggots. How long have maggots been around? They've lived off everything, haven't they?
The one true witness to the entire story.
Yeah, Maggot's got that T-shirt that says, "I don't give a fuck, I'll eat you." I don't care if you're a dinosaur, or a beautiful 20-year-old woman in the year 2023, I'll eat you.
Maggots are flies, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta tell you, there's nothing like.
I've never even seen. I don't want to ever see it, but I've never even seen a maggot. Have y'all seen maggots? I don't think I've ever seen.
What?
Where would I
could
see a
you-
maggot?
In your rotten trash can.
Oh gosh.
No?
I don't-
In the bottom of your trash can. You've never had a maggot?
Oh my God. Man, I keep that
Does
thing.
that doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, if you never clean out your trash can.
What do you? Don't you put bags? You just throw raw trash in the trash can.
No, but I mean, come on.
Oh my!
How
I don't know
long-
if I mean, a maggot on something. Oh my God! I would be totally freaked out if I saw a maggot.
Well, you'll be happy to know you'll never see one. They come, they come in large packages. You'll see about 100,000.
Right.
And I'm going to use a verb now that's going to make you sick. They squirm. Squirming maggots.
Wait a minute, maggot! You're by yourself? Oh hell no! I got thousands of buddies with me. Come on!
We don't travel alone.
But
Oh my God! So maggots are fly babies, right?
Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the next, like that's the mystery of evolution over a long period of time, brought into a short time frame, which is another thing that's so hard to fathom and imagine, is that metamorphosis from worm to legged worm, even, or caterpillar, or whatever you want, larva, into a winged animal is. I mean, to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly, I'm sorry. If you break it down and you look inside that cocoon when it's mid metamorphosis, it'll blow your mind. It's just mush. It's transition from a caterpillar into a butterfly. I don't know what. Do you have any insight into that mush moment of that process?
No, it's that larva form. You know, the maggot form, if you will, is there's not much going on there. But then, you know, the other two, there's all kinds of things happening. You think of a butterfly's wings, they're works of art. They're just
So
extraordinary.
beautiful.
But a maggot never turns into anything
It
beautiful.
turns into
does
a
it?
housefly. And,
Oh, it turns
and
into
a
a
housefly has wings, but they're not pretty to our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a frog, they're pretty, I guarantee.
Mm-hmm. The frog that evolved from a tadpole, which lives its life completely underwater with gills of some sort.
With gills.
And
Yeah, so a maggot is eating, like, just, let's say, general ignorant knowledge like I have. A maggot lands on, like, a homeless guy in the alleyway, and he eats him up, and he becomes
no,
a fly.
a fly lands,
Yeah.
right? A fly lands, lays the eggs.
Egg.
Oh,
But
then
it
a
won't
maggot,
lay it on a
and then a
living
maggot's
thing.
become, but like,
Anything a fly lands on. Wait, what did you just say?
I said it wouldn't be laying its eggs on a living thing.
Right.
Yeah.
What they're doing is smelling the air for something that died recently.
but a caterpillar doesn't live off anything dead, does it? It just goes into
what?
its cocoon.
No, it eats leaves and stuff.
A caterpillar turns into a beautiful butterfly. It doesn't eat homeless people, does it? It just
No.
goes into a cocoon.
No, there's way too many homeless people because of that. That's yeah. Terrible.
If we could just get caterpillars to eat homeless people, we'd be in a better place.
Oh, God, you're going to start. What's he doing with those caterpillars over there? I don't know, training them to kill homeless people. He's definitely lost his mind. The dinosaurs might have Squanjo says the dinosaurs might have become the intelligent race, or may have been, just takes a few shrooms. So I guess he's imagining if the meteorite hadn't killed them, that maybe there would have been some other version of self-consciousness and imagination that would have arisen in the animal world.
Now this is another question I should know. Were dinosaurs all meat eaters, or did some eat? They were not meat eaters.
A lot of them were herbivores.
Yeah, most of them.
Some of the biggest ones.
I mean, the dinosaurs that were meat eaters ate dinosaurs that weren't, just like.
So do you think that one did better than the other after all this stuff happened? Did the meat eaters do better than the vegans?
I think it was all more relative to size than anything else. Not really what you ate.
The big ones died.
The big ones couldn't deal with the climate change.
Right.
It was a climate change issue.
There's nowhere for them to hide.
Yeah.
Whereas smaller animals could burrow into a cave or
So
go wait it out.
Yeah, some of the biggest dinosaurs were the Brontosaurus, which is a plant eater. They lived in the swamps, so the water would support their weight. Well, a lot of them would have trouble walking far across land, but they lived in the shallow ocean and just kind of waded around eating.
Like a hippo or something.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's interesting. Josepha, welcome to the show.
Joe, tell us
we started the maggot conversation right when she started dinner. She's like, okay, I'm putting my dinner down.
So do you think maggots have been around since the dinosaurs?
Yeah. Yeah, insects tend to have been around longer. Maggots ate dinosaurs.
So as nasty as maggots are, they have a very important...
Very important.
Oh, yeah, they're part of the... Not just the maggots, but the adults, the flies, are the food for lots of critters.
Right.
But... and they're just trying to live.
Now, what's the deal with the stink bug? I was in my little office upstairs last night, and stink bugs were like all over the place.
At your work?
At my house.
Oh, at your house.
Like, why do we have to deal with stinky bugs? Or why do they stink?
They give off that chemical, so you won't kill them.
But they don't give it off till they die, don't they?
They give it off when they're disturbed.
Oh.
They shoot it out.
I was like
a skunk.
I was flicking them off of me and like.
Whoa.
I was like, what in the world? But I didn't
have a little infestation going on, huh?
Well, they do swarm in the house.
So I would just see them one at a time. Like, oh man, there's a stink bug.
Well, that's not a swarm.
Right.
He gets swarms.
Oh man, sorry about that.
But I don't kill them, so I just hope they don't start stinking.
Well, why don't you kill them?
I was writing last night, and I didn't want to. They were just like, I would flick it out of my hair.
I don't blame you for not killing them. They stink more when you kill them.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you had a.
No, I mean, they don't really bother me. They look helpless. So
You're just coexisting with them.
I usually give them a warning.
Right.
They'll walk across, and I'll say, if you come back, I'm going to have to kill you.
Yeah.
I do have some news I found out today that you are an influencer. You have reached the.
I've been under the influence.
You have reached the level of influencer. I read this online today. I hope this is the right note. Mr. Moore, that's what it says. The Arby's has a new sandwich that everybody's going crazy about. And guess what kind of bread it's on?
Hawaiian.
King's Hawaiian bread.
No, even the
2 weeks after he's online mentioning it,
strikes again.
Arby's unleashes
John bump.
Arby's unleashes their moneymaker on the Hawaiian bread. And people are loving it.
Sounds delicious.
I guarantee you.
You should be getting like a paycheck for that.
Yeah, we should be getting, the show should be getting $2,000 a week, I think, for the work I do.
I know.
Not to mention you and Nathan.
I just thought it was funny. Like, I haven't heard anything about Hawaiian bread for. I mean, everybody knows what it is, but I don't hear it in conversation. You mentioned it, and then I'm at work and I'm seeing Arby's has a new sandwich, and I click on it. It's on Hawaiian bread. Everybody loves it. I was like, damn, Mr. Moore just mentioned that like 2 weeks ago.
Well, it goes further than that. Guess what I found yesterday?
What's that?
I went to the grocery store, which was, I made it, I succeeded. They have a small version now of Hawaiian bread. They used to just have that great big thing, and I talked about the mold.
Right.
All right.
I went through yesterday, and right up on top of that big one, there was a small container.
Oh,
of it.
wow.
There you go.
Sure
See?
enough, I have it in my refrigerator. That's the other
We're gonna
thing.
start getting checks in the mail and requests for us to mention this stuff on the show.
Yeah.
Just to manifest it into reality.
Well, we could turn it into a reality show. The Flickr people are going to get back to it.
That's right. The governor announced yesterday the Flickr is now the new state bird for the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
So like a flicker. I mean, I'm being serious. Like from a distance, will you know a flicker when you see it?
Not unless you had this program.
Mm-hmm.
It would
Now
just,
you will.
It would just look like it would from a distance. It would look like a brown shape doing that, like an old shoe. And then a lot of times you'll see that black on the back of their head, but you wouldn't know what it was if you hadn't been with us.
If you haven't seen it.
And the first one you see, you're going to get so excited, and you're going to want to call me. But just wait till the next episode and let me know. Because I want to, there's probably somebody out there that has made their living studying flickers. I mean, you got people studying everything.
Did you by any chance see the fish that was revealed recently? It's a picture of the farthest down in the ocean fish they've ever gotten.
Wow.
Did you see that? It's like breaking. I saw it. Yes, I'm gonna grab it. But first, while I'm looking for that, discuss this comment. Aaron says, "But those wings." She's going back to the larva to caterpillar to butterfly, and the gross mush middle moment. She says, "But those wings come from larva. Pupa mush. What's pupa? P-U-P-A.
No, wait a minute. What was this in? What was this?
Talking about like going from a caterpillar to a butterfly, but there's that moment in the cocoon where it's just mush.
Before it turns into a butterfly?
Yeah, because so the caterpillar wraps itself up in this cocoon, and you can go online and find it, like a depiction of what happens in that inside that cocoon. And there's this whole moment where it's really just mush.
Wow.
It's unbelievable. I mean, you look at a caterpillar and look at a butterfly and think about the caterpillar going into its cocoon to become this butterfly, and it's unfathomable. It just doesn't. You can't do it. It's sort of like trying to imagine a hippopotamus developing a blowhole so it can live in the ocean. But so she says, "Why is the mush not as beautiful if it contains all the materials and code to develop into the wings? The wings are only closer to destruction and diminishment, even though they propel the flight of future larvae and wings." It's sort of an esoteric statement, but it's a fun little daydream.
I like that.
It's like, why do we see this one thing as gross? I mean, a lot of that's just symmetry. Basically,
Yeah.
One's a pretty pattern and one's just mush. But I like the way you're thinking there. Why do we think the wings are so beautiful? It's really sort of ominous. It's just that much closer to death at that point. Pupil.
Well, that's all right.
It's P-U-P-A-L, and because of my ignorance, I didn't correct that when I read it.
But I grew up, and my father was very into nature. My brother is too, but I never paid attention to it. But the older you get, I hang around like Jane and Grail and Courtney that know about stuff. We used to go for walks, and I would ask Jane, "What's this?" And they could point it out. It makes me jealous that people know all this stuff. It's like it's a whole world that I don't have any knowledge of. Like I was just like asking Jane some bullshit question. If this type of mold was going to grow against that type of mold, which would win? We were walking past a wall with like a black and a gray mold. And Jane said this one would, and I was like, she's a genius. You know, it's like the stuff if you pay attention to the world from when you're a kid. I mean, you can just learn so much stuff. It's amazing the stuff you can learn.
It's true. It's true. You have to be exposed to it, and you have to have a resource to get your answers. You know, I think all children have the questions,
Right.
but they don't always have the answers.
But I also feel like I've missed out not learning it, but I also feel the joy of being an adult learning something new. Like what Jane would tell me or Courtney would tell me, I'd be like, they're like, I've known this since I was 8 years old. And I was like, I'm 57 and I finally learned this. Like, I mean, just knowledge is so wonderful and so empowering and so, you know, it just makes you feel like you can just skip down the road, you know. Like
It's true. It's a whole reason to live.
Yeah.
Because there's no matter what, there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
No, and it's also a reason to always. Too often, I don't say something out loud because I'm like, oh, they already know that. Not usually.
Right.
But you just assume everybody knows
Right.
it. But we all have such a, we all know such a tiny sliver
Right.
of all there is to know.
Right.
And we'll die that way.
Right.
No matter how voracious we read, no matter how much we try to know as much as possible, we're all going to die knowing very little
Right,
of all
right.
there is to know.
Right.
You know, that's very true, and I think it's also important along that very same train of thought to understand that no matter how smart you are, the smartest person in the world, Albert Einstein, bless his heart, was ignorant of so many things.
Right.
And he would say that. I mean, he
Absolutely.
knew that. That was part of his wisdom.
Right.
But to understand that there's more out there than you can ever know.
Oh, yeah.
And we could take any of these things. Like you could study flickers the rest of your life
Right.
and not know everything about a flicker.
Right,
Yeah.
and still get your mind blown by a flicker fact that someone else observed.
Exactly. Somebody else knew it. And it's all out there. But you nailed something perfect there about the idea it gives you a good reason to keep living. That I've often thought, I always, and I shouldn't think for them, but some animals don't seem to be carrying much of a thought process out. They're not really considering things, they're just reacting to them. And I was thinking, well, yeah, that would be kind of boring after a while. But human beings, we ask questions, and it doesn't ever have to be boring. I mean, you can be boring, but life shouldn't be boring.
Right.
If you can find something, it's hard. You know, like what I've been going through lately is I can't walk, I can't play racquetball, I can't get out, I can't go to the store. I'm at home. What am I doing? But I'm not unhappy up at home. And that's just because of what we're talking about. There's still plenty of shit to do. So I think that's a beautiful part of being alive.
Yeah, just
Is
the
it keeps on going. Whereas some people are really pissed off that they're going to die not knowing everything.
right.
And there's a lot of people that are, for some reason, convinced they do know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is true.
No clearer sign of an imbecile than that conviction.
Like Jane.
Well said.
Jane.
Look at that. That's the deepest
Is that
fish
the-
ever photographed. It just happened last week,
Oh no.
or very recently.
Is it fishy looking or
It's
unfishable
pretty
looking?
wild?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that something to
Oh
look at?
my gosh. I love him. I want one. Oh, he's so cute.
Isn't
You know,
that
he
something?
does look a little bit like Kyle.
That's my brother. Where the hell did y'all get a picture of my brother? Wait a minute, this is a real
It
thing?
just happened recently. It's the deepest fish ever photographed. I'll show it to the show here in a second.
This is like Winnie the Pooh without his
I
sweater,
know,
without his
it's
sweater,
so cute,
isn't it?
right?
Look at the
It's so
hands
cuddly.
on it.
Yeah, he's got a hand.
Yeah, he
hand
looks like he
pins.
has more of a
He's working
Oh
on
my
hand
god, that's
pins.
so cool.
more of a walker on the bottom than a swimmer.
Now, where was that? Do you have any idea?
Off the coast of Japan, down a trench.
And that's really not me. Miss Moore was just kidding. That's not really me.
That might have been hard to see on the thing. I'll post it in Discord too. But
No, do they have a name for that, or it's just like unknown?
scientists
fish?
find deepest fish ever recorded, 83. I mean, that's the other thing. It's like 8,300 meters underwater.
Oh, my
The
God.
amount of pressure at that point, it's crazy.
But it's so weird that it has like little fingers almost.
Scientists have captured footage of a fish swimming more than 8 kilometers underwater, setting a new record for the deepest fish ever recorded. The animal, an unknown snailfish species belonging to the genus I can't pronounce, was filmed at a depth of 8,000 meters in the Izu Ogasawara Trench, southeast of Japan.
Yeah, think about this, how that picture came to be. You had to have some curious human beings.
Right.
Think of the technology it
Right.
took to get a camera
Amen.
down there. That's
It was
just
really
remarkable.
refreshing to me to see this article too, because the night before I'd just been having a deep dive conversation about conspiracy theories, and I wound up, you know, I kept coming around to like, yeah, but I still trust science more than someone on YouTube or whatever. And then the next day I wake up and I'm reading this article about this fish, and I'm like, these are the people I'm talking about. If people like this say we didn't go to the moon, now, you know, like there's incredible people that are actively doing science
Right.
now. A lot of conspiracy theories are on YouTube and stuff like that. They're very convincing because every good conspiracy theory is sort of put forth in a scientific language. Like that's the reason people believe in flat Earth is because they have somebody on there with credentials saying this math proves the Earth has to be flat. This math proves we couldn't have gone to the moon. This math proves 9/11 was a controlled demolition. You know, it's always in the language of science, and they always have
Right.
people with credentials. COVID had millions of doctors with YouTube channels or whatever, but it was never. It's not like the scientists that they have for all these things aren't like active scientists doing science, like incredible. It's not important, prominent virologists putting forth a COVID theory. It's not like someone at NASA today talking about not going to the moon. It's like this subcategory. It's not really science. Like this is real science.
So do you think, like, I mean, just to pick the first one you said, the flat Earth, do you think people actually believe that, or these are just pranksters?
Oh yeah, they definitely believe it.
Man, that's hard to believe.
That's sort of the point.
So it's not just pranksters wanting to throw put your stick in the spokes and throw the bike off track.
That's a great question. Whether
I mean, because nowadays it seems like so much stuff is just some intelligent dude that lives in his mom's basement. Like, oh, I can totally throw people off if I say this, you know.
like it's a big con.
Yeah.
Like,
But like you said, I think people actually do believe the Earth is flat. But how do you? What scientific? I mean, how do you make that work in your brain?
mm-hmm.
But they totally. I mean, I like what you said. I think they actually believe it.
Mm-hmm. There's a great documentary on, I think it's Netflix, about flat earthers. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Have you seen that one? It's worth watching. It's because I mean, one of the things you realize is that one of the hallmarks of conspiracy theorists is a pretty high level of intelligence, which is not what you would think.
Right.
But like dumb people don't get into conspiracy theories because it's really any of them are very complicated explanations or whatever that makes it's there's just a certain level of intelligence plus sort of I think a lot of us I have it I'm a huge sucker for conspiracy theories. I am the biggest sucker on the planet. Easy to convince.
Right.
If you believe it or seem like you believe it, and you come to me with some knowledge, some facts I can't refute.
Because the story is so interesting.
Yeah, but I also think that I've always had something in me that finds it really hard to believe reality.
Right.
I'm just suspect. I don't know what it is. It's like this nagging feeling that none of this is real, or like that, and that gets carried over into. I'm just really easy to fool on that front.
I went to the Waynesboro had their public library book sale last week. And I went, and I've heard about this report, the Warren report, about Kennedy.
All right.
You always hear about the Warren report. I'd never seen it. They had like an old it was like the front and back were like old cardboard with just like typed paper in there. I bought it for 25 cents.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, am I ever going to read this? But I was like, I've actually got the Warren report.
That might be like
But I was like skimming through it. And it's like
What
written.
is it?
It's the Warren report when they investigated if Kennedy was the events around Kennedy's assassination and who they were trying to figure out what happened. Right. But it was just like it was in this box. The old things I picked. It was like a heavy cardboard thing. I picked it up. It was like the Warren report. I flipped through it. I was like, I'm like you. I'm like, conspiracy. I bought it for like. Then I got home. I was like, am I ever going to read this? Because it's very annotated. Like go to like A, and then there's sub notes and all that stuff. I was like, but just like the people that put all that time into it, and this is the Warren report, and then the next wave comes in to disprove the Warren report.
Well, absolutely, and it's meticulous.
It just becomes like a carousel. You can't ever stop it. It just goes and goes.
The kind of personality like that can really create a good conspiracy theory they are very smart people that go through the Warren report bit by bit by bit. They got the maps out. They know all the players. They got, the classic depiction of a conspiracy theorist is somebody with a wall full of things with strings attached to each one. Right. That's the mentality. That's a conspiracy theorist. It's not some fool just believing what they were told. It's somebody with a wall full of facts and strings connecting the dots. Just connect the dots. Do your own research, connect the dots, and you'll find out there's no way we went to the moon.
Part of the charm of a conspiracy theory is like I believe we went to the moon, but it's also like you give these guys credit for like you've created this other view. Like you give them credit for spending all this time to create another view. And even though I might not believe it, I'm like, damn, y'all did a lot of hard work. If I didn't believe that, I would believe this. It's like it's
meticulous.
It's just enough believable. If you weren't like totally 100% believable, it could easily sway you over there.
Right.
And that takes a lot, that's just not a bunch of dumb guys. Just like, that's like people that really,
And I will go right. I'm a perfect candidate for someone. If you have a good conspiracy theory out there, I'm your guy. You will convince me pretty easly because I don't know what it is about my nature that makes me such a sucker on that front.
I disagree.
What do you mean?
Well, from my observation of you, it doesn't support what you just said. What I see is someone who will accept what they're saying and say, okay, and how do you mean that? And you'll analyze it, and then you'll compare it to what you know or another conspiracy, and you'll eventually come to your own conclusion.
Right.
But you're not just saying all of a sudden this is the truth.
But it's
You're
just
saying that's very curious. I'm
Right.
interested in that.
But I do have the reaction that I share a certain thing that other conspiracy theorists have. Of it's almost like a rush or something when you're like that whole moment of like, oh my God, we didn't go to the moon, and like it's like a sensation, like you're privy to this secret knowledge, and you're like, oh my God, this actually does prove. Like I'll go through that whole emotional roller coaster, but then
like
I always keep going to like find the rebuttal and be like, oh, and then I'm just like, okay, that was actually.
It's like when you're walking down that hall, and that girl smiles at you, and you take 5 steps. And then you go running back, and you just say, "Did you smile at me?" And you embarrass the shit out of her, and she never talks to you again.
It's exactly like that.
I just saw something on YouTube. It was a guy in a car driving, and he was smiling, and it said above him, thinking about that girl that smiled at me at Target 2 years ago. And I was like, that's the way dudes are. Like, man, remember that good-looking girl that smiled at me at Target 2 years ago? I just can't forget her, I can't. But the conspiracy, like, for a while there, a couple years ago, I was obsessed with, like, the Jack the Ripper case. And everybody's got a book, who did it. And every single one I read, like, of course you're right. This is who did it. And then a couple months later, I'd read it. Of course you're right. This is still, I mean, it's just, without knowing in your own brain what the truth is, people can like just twist my brain. Like that's the problem. If you don't really know, if you don't have a fundamental belief, you can just be twisted by anybody. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who Jack the Ripper was. So each one that explains it, I'm like, I finished the book. This is the most sound reasoning. This is who did it. And then I'll pick up another book. Well, of course, this person was wrong. This had more facts. This person did it.
Right.
It's just like but it's almost like it's since it doesn't matter. It's almost like fun just to be pulled from side to side. We're never gonna know who Jack the Ripper was, so it's not like my belief has any. I don't have to like stand on the street corner and yell. It was this person.
You're so right though. A good conspiracy theory does exploit a blind spot you have, or whatever your ignorance is. In science is most often with a lot of these, like here's a great example. Between the Earth and the Moon is something called the Van Allen belt. Do you know? You've ever heard of this?
Sure.
Do you know what that is?
I don't.
It's a layer of iron and it's a layer of a zone of where the particles have a certain charge and
radioactive or whatever the word is.
I mean, I don't know what it consists of.
So you have a scientist on a video or something saying that the Van Allen belt is full of lethal radiation that will kill a human being, and that there's no way the astronauts going to the moon could have passed through it and survived.
Oh, wow. Wait a minute. This is a conspiracy theory, or this is like...
you're just hearing this for the first time. So I'm here. I'm not a scientist. I've never even heard of the Van Allen belt. I'm just like, what is he talking about?
But it's something. But it's something any intelligent person would agree exists.
Well, then you look it up and you're like, you look in the dictionary and it says the Van Allen belt, a thing of radiation around the Earth or something like that.
Right. So it's based on
you're just like, you're hearing this scientist say like there's no possible way the ship could have passed through the Van Allen belt. And so you're like, bam, because you want to believe.
Right.
Like that's the thing. That's probably why I call myself susceptible, because there's some part of me that just really wants one of these to be true.
Right.
Like, come on, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that just shake the fabric of everything?
Well, I don't know. How old are you?
52.
So I don't know if these were still around. When I was a kid, we would go down to the old theaters. They would have Leonard Nimoy would present like a Noah's Ark or something. It was Leonard Nimoy reading, like voicing over all these things about the Noah's Ark. And when you're a kid, you're sitting there watching that, Leonard Nimoy talking to you in that deep, sophisticated voice. Of course there was Noah's Ark, like it makes you believe all this stuff, and it's just,
Well, he's not even a human being. What the hell are you talking about?
The movies, I remember my mom would take us and drop us off. Me and my brother would just come out obsessed with Noah's Ark for like 2 weeks. So my dad would say, "Stop fucking talking about Noah's Ark. I can't take it anymore." It's just like, all right, well, let's move on to something else. But like, it's like the thing that just sparks an interest in your brain that you just like. It's just fun to think about stuff that can't be proved right or wrong.
Right. That's why I think the moon landing is one of the greatest conspiracy theories of all time. Because it's just such a fun, it is a good, healthy exercise for a young person or something. Like, do you believe we went to the moon? Why do you believe we went to the moon? How do you know for sure? Like to question things.
Now,
It can be a healthy thing. Like you're sort of trusting the story. Like what makes you think we went to the moon? Like I feel like it's not an unhealthy.
No, isn't America getting ready to go back to the moon? Don't they have 4 new people that are getting ready to go back? I think I just saw someone on the news they're getting ready to send.
I definitely really hope they go to the old landing spot and show me that flag so I can just finally rest on this one.
And
Well, it'll be at the same place.
That's what I'm saying.
In Hollywood.
It should be. Oh, in Hollywood.
now, after all you've taken in, do you believe we went to the moon, or you don't believe?
I do.
I do believe
but
too.
I could be convinced otherwise.
Yes.
Right now, very easily by someone that's convincing and laying a new.
I'm the same way.
I'm bad with it. I mean,
I totally 100% believe it. But if we went to a bar and had a couple of drinks and some really guy that talked good would tell me, I'd go home like, no way we went to the moon.
Right. I could get there so easily. It sort of makes me sad.
Now, what do you think? You think we went to the moon?
Definitely.
Okay.
I believe everything I saw on TV that Sunday morning when I came home from church.
Oh, you remember seeing it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. What was that like?
No, actually, that was Kennedy's assassination on the moon.
Getting them confused.
Yeah. Well,
Wasn't he shot on the moon?
What was it?
They made a phone call from the moon to the President of the United States, and we all heard it on TV.
What was it like? My mom says she remembers Kennedy's assassination. She said that's something she'll never forget. The news was so, like the way news was even brought to you just changed. It was like everything else in the world didn't matter all of a sudden. She said it was life changing.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I think it may have been when Jack Ruby killed Oswald. I think that came on right after I got home from church.
Wow.
We turned on the TV and it happened. I think that's the one I remember.
Oh, wow.
Affected me that way.
We think our time now is so tumultuous, but boy, however old you were right then, that was a crazy time in our country.
Yeah.
Well,
the whole 60s was...
yeah, I mean, you had all these assassinations of important people.
The Vietnam War was just... I mean, it divided the country like nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to talk about all this stuff more, but we're like 10 minutes over our time.
Is that right?
Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
I just want to... one more thing about the Van Halen? The Van Halen belt.
Now, the Van Halen belt, they rock.
Right.
That's all
I'll tell
I'm
you one
saying.
thing about the Van Halen belt.
They
could really rock. Play that guitar.
I don't know about the roll, but they can rock.
But the reason I like that as a metaphor or whatever of how conspiracy theories work is, I was talking about this with Brian the other night. It's like if you have a candle flame and you hold your hand in the flame, it's going to burn your hand. So like that's a scientific fact. Like if you put your hand in the flame, no hand could possibly survive that flame. And so that's a scientific fact. But what every hand can do is pass through it. You can just go like any hand can pass through a candle flame. So the conspiracy theorist takes the scientific fact that you can't hold your hand in the flame to say no human could survive the Van Allen belt. You see what I'm saying? So they're taking a scientific fact and playing on my ignorance. And you look it up, and it's true. Like, no human being could survive exposure to the Van Allen belt.
Right.
But just like a flame in a hand, we could pass through it really quickly. Does that make sense?
Does make sense.
But how you hear it, everything that person said is sort of true. It's all based on scientific fact. No human being could survive the Van Allen belt. Oh, then there's proof. That's the proof. That's the bullet, the smoking bullet. Is that what they say?
Smoking gun.
The smoking gun. That's the smoking gun. We didn't go to the moon. But then you just learn a little bit more. But from the moment I hear a fact like that to the moment I discover the rebuttal through doing my own research, like, oh no, that's explained. We just went quickly through it or whatever. But for that, however many hours it takes till I find that truth, I'm like, oh man, we didn't go to the moon. We got the smoking gun.
This is another ignorance on my part, being an American. We went to the moon. Has anybody else been to the moon, or just we're the only ones that have been there?
Nope.
Nobody else has landed on the moon?
I don't know why we don't have a moon base yet. I still have a lot of questions.
Would you go up? Would you volunteer to go up there as the first magician performer?
As the first folk singer.
We're going down to Nathan's bar. Come on.
I would.
No, you wouldn't. If Kether said, I won't let you go, you're going to go live
I
up
would
on
not
the moon.
volunteer or aspire or go through a rigorous training to get there. But if NASA called me up and said, Nathan, you've been selected to go to the moon. Do you want to go? I think I would say yes. I would have to say yes.
Would you take Kether with you, or you go by yourself?
I'm not sure.
If
I've
she could
gotten
go.
really lazy lately. The moon, that's 240,000 miles. I'm not sure I want to do that. With the traffic, it wouldn't be much traffic.
No.
That would be
You might
good.
just stay.
Yeah, I probably would. Or part of me would.
Well, that's one of the advantages. You're still young enough. You can. I mean, you have a legacy already, but you can continue.
You would go, wouldn't you? I think any of us would go.
No, I wouldn't go. I'd be too scared.
You wouldn't?
I'd miss too much here on Earth.
So if NASA calls and says, you've been selected from a lottery to go to the moon next week, you would just be
Yeah,
like...
it would really impress the girls.
Oh, yeah.
I see him over there.
Talk
He
about-
went to the moon.
I was telling him that tonight when I was leaving work, there was 4 women going out for dinner, and they asked me to go, and I said, no, I got my podcast. They were like, you love Mr. Moore more than you love going out with 4 women? And I was like, I've got to say yes, I'm going to do the podcast. And they're like, all right, loser, go ahead and do your podcast.
That's why you wouldn't go to the moon. Sorry, I got to do...
You wouldn't miss
Jabber
things here? Like, what if would you go, like, what if they
I'd
said...
be right back.
No, what if they said you're going to go and you're going to stay there?
Oh, if it was like a long, extended
Like,
stay.
all right, Nathan, you're going to go, you're going to be the biggest name in show business, but you can never come back to the Earth.
But I could do my show from the moon on Twitch.
You wouldn't miss.
Nathan
You wouldn't
Walker.
miss all the things here.
No, I would not go to the moon for the rest of my days. No, it's a good question. I still find it hard to believe that we wouldn't all say yes to that.
Yeah, well, we go through different phases. So I'm at the point where I don't have anything to prove by being on the moon. I don't think. Who am I impressing? If I wanted to impress people, I'd wear my teeth.
But isn't that...
But just think how light you'd be. You could walk so easily, just going around.
Yeah, and I don't even play golf. So
Well, I guess...
Rick Cook would go, just so he could hit a golf ball.
just for that.
450 yards. So we're through.
All right.
We're
Well,
pretty much
Kim
there.
was very upset we didn't all say hi to her tonight. So we
Hey,
all,
Kim.
Hey, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Kim.
I'm sorry. We missed
Sorry,
you.
we were talking about the space moon instead of you.
With I feel like I was missing a lot of chats there, too. It was good to see everybody watching the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us. And we'll be back next Thursday at 7. Do we need a leaving song?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Leaving.
I just don't know. Today's conversation is a tough. I'm not sure which of my songs fit the...
8 Miles High.
Let's just go.
You can do a spring song.
It's a little out of tune. Hold on a second.
How long do they think you don't know how to tune a guitar just by ear?
That was the first thing I was taught. So.
Oh, wow.
But it's not something that comes automatically easy. Because the way they teach you to tune a guitar, is you take the one string and then you fret it and then make the next string sound just like that. So you got this string and then so you fret this string here and the next one should sound like that. Same with the next one.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
But then you have to sit there and make the others. So there's the two.
So how do you know what the first one's right?
Listen, well, you need a reference point for that. A piano or a tuner or something like that.
Oh my God.
Nobody, even somebody with perfect pitch, would be hard to make sure that first string is exactly right. Tuning forks is what they used back in the day before all the electronic options we have. You ever seen one of those? It's pretty cool. Sorry.
No, I don't think that you can tune a fish, but can you tune a guitar?
Damn a dozen, well, I'll take a dozen. $1.20 for all that fussing. Might as well throw in a couple more and keep the change. Across the nation, station to station, people finding themselves losing their patience. Just too much information for a brain. I mean, when I set out, I just wanted to be like apple butter. Now I've got myself into this awful clutter. I'm standing on top, shouting out my own name. Oh, I'm so ashamed. I got this thing, I'd sing in key. I'd try anything, I'd do anything. Just get me off the chain. From the BOA to the credit union, GoDaddy, PayPal, voicemail, email, Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook, a few more to name.
Twitch.
I got FanBridge, SonicBids, ASCAP, Netflix, US Air, Amazon, United, Orbitz. I'm just getting started, but I didn't come to complain. Oh, my FTP, my SQL, what's the password? I can't tell, but multiply these by each of my domains. I got Reverb Nation, Ustream, YouTube, you tips of icebergs, you rascals, you. I'd do anything, just get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. Come on, baby, make me sing. So get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. You never know what somebody's going through. You never know what somebody might be on. You never know unless, of course, you do. Then to you a sad disdain. It seems like everybody's choosing red or blue. Couldn't I just be a purple hobo that everybody knew? I mean, I'm already on that train. And when I set out, I just wanted to be like sweet iced tea. Look, Lord, what become of me? I'm like a pig with pearls, fishing down a drain. I'm so ashamed I got to sing. I'd sing in key, I'd try anything, I'd do anything. Just get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. Come on, baby, make me sane. Just get me off the chain. Get me off the chain. Thank you so much. See you next week. Yippee!
Yippee is good. That was lovely.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like
gosh.
that one. Now here we go. Just end it right here with the, if you send us $2,000, we'll put your name in that song.
That's right.
You can have your little
That's
giddy
right.
up. Yeah,
Get the Jabber John bump.
that's a good term. We just invented a new term. For $2,000,
It's still rolling though, isn't it? Or did you stop?
Well, I went to the credits. They can still hear our voices, but I'm about to shut her off. That was fun. God, we almost went 2 hours. Sorry about letting it
Oh,
get.
I had a good time.
well, that's why we need a producer.
That's right.
Oh, darn it.